George Washington's speech to the leaders of today introduction. My fellow Americans, leaders of this great nation, I stand before you not as a man bound by time, but as a spirit compelled to speak on the sacred principles that gave birth to this republic. As the first president of these United States and a humble servant of the cause of liberty, I feel it is my duty to remind you of the founding ideas that guided us in our fight for independence and the creation of a government by the people, for the people. Today, as I gaze upon the path you are charting for this country, I see both the promise of our great experiment and the peril of straying from its foundational principles. 1. The sacredness of liberty and the dangers of encroachment. We, the Founding Fathers, fought not merely for independence from tyranny, but for the establishment of a nation where liberty would be its guiding star. Liberty was and remains the core of our national identity, a liberty that protects the rights of individuals to speak, to worship, to assemble, and to think freely without fear of oppression. Yet I observe today a growing trend towards limiting these liberties in the name of security, in the name of public order, or under the guise of protecting the common good. Be warned, my esteemed successors, that the gradual encroachment upon these liberties, no matter how well-intentioned, is a slippery slope that leads to the very tyranny we once fought to overthrow. When you allow the government to curtail the freedoms of speech, of the press, of religion, or of assembly, you invite the specter of despotism to darken our shores once more. Analogy of the oak tree. Consider liberty as a mighty oak, deeply rooted in the soil of our Constitution. The occasional pruning of its branches may be necessary to maintain its health, but if you begin to hack away at its trunk in an attempt to shape it to your liking, you risk toppling the very tree that has sheltered generations under its shade. The Constitution was designed to protect the rights of the individual from the overreach of government. You must not forget that these rights are inviolable, and that any action that weakens them threatens the foundation of our republic. 2. The importance of unity and the perils of factionalism. When we established this nation, we did so with a clear understanding of the dangers posed by political factions and excessive partisanship. In my farewell address, I warned against the baneful effects of the spirit of party, which tends to distract public councils and enfeeble public administration. Today, I see that this warning has gone unheeded. Our nation now finds itself deeply divided along partisan lines, with leaders more concerned with advancing the interests of their parties than the well-being of the nation as a whole. This division weakens our union, diminishes our standing in the world, and breeds mistrust among our citizens. You must remember that your first loyalty is not to your party, but to the Constitution and to the people whom you serve. It is only through unity and common purpose that we can ensure the continued strength and prosperity of our nation. Analogy of the farmer's field. Imagine a farmer's field, rich and fertile, ready to yield a bountiful harvest. But if the farmer allows it to be overrun by weeds, each representing a different faction, each choking out the crops, the field will produce nothing but bitterness and waste. Our government, like that field, must be tended with care, ensuring that the interests of the nation take precedence over the ambitions of factions. Only by working together can we cultivate the harvest of freedom, justice, and prosperity that our nation so richly deserves. 3. The necessity of virtue in public service. In our time, we believed that the success of our republic depended not only on the structure of government, but also on the character of those who served in it. We understood that virtue, integrity, and a commitment to public service were essential to the health of our democracy. I fear that these values are at risk of being lost in the pursuit of power and personal gain. Today, too many of our leaders seem more concerned with their own interests than with the welfare of the people. Corruption, greed, and a lack of accountability threaten to undermine the public trust and erode the moral fabric of our nation. As leaders, you must hold yourselves to the highest standards of integrity, for it is only through virtuous leadership that we can maintain the trust of the people and the legitimacy of our government. Analogy of the ship and its captain. A nation is like a ship on the open sea. It must be guided by a captain who possesses not only the skill to navigate treacherous waters, but also the integrity to steer true. even in the face of storms. If the captain succumbs to greed, if he abandons his duty for personal gain, the ship will be lost, and with it, all those who depend on it. So too must our leaders navigate the challenges of governance with virtue and a steadfast commitment to the public good, lest our nation be cast adrift. 4. The danger of foreign influence and the importance of national sovereignty. In our time, we were acutely aware of the dangers posed by foreign influence on our young nation. We understood that entanglements with foreign powers could compromise our sovereignty and threaten our independence. Today, I see that foreign influence continues to pose a significant risk to our nation, not through direct military threats, but through economic, political, and technological means. Leaders of America, be vigilant in safeguarding our national sovereignty. Do not allow foreign powers to dictate our policies, manipulate our public discourse, or undermine our democratic institutions. The independence we fought so hard to achieve must be preserved at all costs. Our nation must remain the master of its own destiny, free from undue influence or control by foreign entities. Analogy of the fortress and its gates. Think of our nation as a fortress, strong and secure. The gates of this fortress must be guarded vigilantly, for if they are left open to foreign influence, the integrity of the entire structure is compromised. Once foreign powers gain a foothold, they can manipulate and control from within, weakening our defenses and eroding our sovereignty. It is the duty of every leader to ensure that our nation remains strong, independent, and true to the principles upon which it was founded. Conclusion. In closing, I remind you that the path forward for our great nation must be guided by the principles upon which it was founded: liberty, unity, virtue, and sovereignty. These are not merely lofty ideals. They are the very foundation of our republic, the bedrock upon which our democracy stands. As leaders, you have been entrusted with the solemn responsibility of safeguarding these principles for future generations. The choices you make today will determine the course of our nation for years to come. I urge you to remember the sacrifices made by those who came before you, and to honor those sacrifices by upholding the values that made this nation great. Let not the pursuit of power, the allure of partisanship, or the influence of foreign powers lead you astray. Stay true to the Constitution, serve with integrity, and work together to preserve the republic that we entrusted to you. The fate of this nation and the legacy of its founding rests in your hands. May you lead with wisdom, courage, and a steadfast commitment to the ideals that have made America a beacon of liberty to the world.